It's the next day, and I'm somewhere you guys have probably never seen before. This is my office. I almost never come here, but I do because I work remotely and I work from home a lot. But I wanted to come to my office today. I had a meeting and I got some other stuff I need to do, so I'm going to take care of that. But I did not drive the Porsche today. I know I never put this on my channel and I never show you guys, but look outside the window. There's the Ducati. I rode the Ducati today, and it was a blast. I also remembered that when I ride the Ducati, or any motorcycle, I completely ride like a hooligan and ignore all traffic laws. That being said, I got some work to do here, and then in a few hours, I'm going to head back to the house. We're going to grab the Porsche. We're going to head to DIY Garage, Gearhead Garage. That's the name of it. Its name is Gearhead Garage, not DIY. And I'm gonna do the transmission mount insert. And this time I think I'm gonna try to remember to cover everything step by step. I'm rambling now. Let me stop rambling. Let me get some work done and then see you in a few hours. I think those are all the tools I need to change the mounts, which are right here, the mount inserts. Let me just change my shoes and we'll hit the road. I forgot the microphone, so we're gonna do this without microphones today. So I'll try to speak up and speak louder. I don't feel like going back in the house and getting them. Yeah, it's good. Let's go. So we're on our way to Gearhead Garage. Should be there in about 15-20 minutes. What time of day is it? Maybe a little bit longer. And then we can change the transmission mount inserts. When I show you the ones that I take off, I apologize in advance. Oh, I love this car. Oh, it's so nice. Checking out this BMW in front of me. It's D-badged. I don't know what it is. It sounds good. It looks good. It's got a body kit on it. We're probably going to the same place because right next to the DIY garage is it's a BMW place, or it's an aftermarket BMW place. And there's a lot of Beamers there, so we're probably going to the same place. So I got my tools laid out here. Just gotta pull all this plastic cover off. Gotta pull the center one off because it attaches here where the transmission's right above. Got my light. So you see the transmission's right in there. So we gotta pull the center one off because it holds the center here. And you gotta loosen these side ones because they pinch the middle. All right, now that we got all the tools or all the screws out, we're gonna unpinch this back here by these air scoops. Technically, these are called NACA scoops. We use them on airplanes too. But for your reference, they're just air scoops. They duct cool air to your brakes. So they pinch this rear shield off. Be careful pulling it off because it is composite material, so you don't want to break it. I have no idea how much it costs. I've never broken it. But if I ever do, and I probably will, I'll let you know. So now that that's out of the way, go to work on getting all these plastic 10mm nuts off the other side trays. There's probably about 100. There they go. And then you can put your finger in here. It's got a little half-moon shaped finger hole. You can pull these down and just let them hang, and then you can pop off that centerpiece. And then you have full access to your transmission and the tunnel. Here you have the lower bracket. The nuts on that are 16mm. They hold, there's 4 there. Then the transmission bolt that holds everything together to the chassis. You have an upper fixed fuel line and your coolant pipes, and those just pop out. Just push them out of their clips. And then this is an E24, the other side's an E20. and then you also have another 16 millimeter nut on the bottom part, 2 of them on the bottom part of the upper brace. So you pull one out per side. Remember to support your transmission before you do this so it does not move on you. So then once you got it supported, you can break the torque on this and that will spin right off. And if you do it right, you should be able to pull this bolt out completely by hand. You can fine tune your stand and move your transmission up and down just a little bit until you take the tension off so the bolt will slide right out. Then you'll see that this upper brace is in your way. So you can't get it all the way out to get those the inserts out. So what you're gonna have to do is take these out. So take the 16 millimeter nuts off, and then these are 7 millimeters. You put it on the bottom of that rod, and you unscrew it from the chassis, and they'll come right out. Once those are out of the upper frame, you can easily move this out of the way. The only reason you can't take it all the way out is because this car is all-wheel drive. If you have a two-wheel drive car, it should pop out. The all-wheel drive, the shaft's in the way. This is what the inserts look like now. These are the original ones that I had that I cut to make them look like the OEM inserts. And it's because I needed to support the upper transmission with the OEM style, and I didn't have the part number or know what the OEMs were. So this is what I made. So here's what the transmission looks like now. The transmission mount, you see it's not broken at all. It's not torn. It just, in my opinion, just has a little too much flex. You know, it's 14 years old. And so I'm going to reinstall these transmission mounts because even though they give you a little bit of vibration, they definitely firm up your transmission and your shifts with zero clunk whatsoever. So you can see how the voids fit, these little feet or whatever you want to call them, they fit into these voids perfectly. So you just want to push them in there by hand until they get seated all the way. And this is cut very precise, so they'll fit in there perfectly. If it does give you a little fight like it's doing here, and it's going to because you know it's so precise, then what you can do is pop it back out and spray some silicone spray in there. And actually, I think the instructions tell you that's what you're supposed to do. So this is kind of what it's going to look like. But I'm not happy with the way it's sitting in there, so I'm going to pop this back out real quick. I'm going to grab my silicone spray. Don't use anything petroleum based because it'll break down the rubber. Use silicone only because it'll condition the rubber mount that's already in there, and it'll give you some lubrication so you can slide the mount in. So then with the silicone spray in there, you can just take your function first transmission inserts and just press them in. And you see the egg shape on it, so you can't install these wrong. Like if you went to the other side, it's not like you can flip it over. The only difference would be is the fatter side that I have towards the front would be towards the back, and then it would just rub on the case, but you can't really install these wrong. I installed these exactly as the OEM ones were, but there's no wrong way to install them. Then that side's in, and then you can do this side. This side you probably don't need to even spray lubricant because since I sprayed so much from the other side, when you press that in and it's such a tight fit, it'll push lubrication to this side. And I still had some lubrication in there from the previous time when I installed this. So I just push these in like this. I use my thumb, and that gives me just enough pressure. Pushing on it with both, well, I put the camera down and use both thumbs, and they fit in there flush. You don't need any tools. You don't need to hit on it. It will fit in there very nice, and you can see how tightly it fits. Snug, and it's doing its job. See this little square nub here? That's on purpose to keep the upper frame away from the mount. And that's because there's a tiny little space, there's supposed to be a gap between the mount and that upper frame so that you can put your lower chassis mount on there and it'll fit between those things. Before we do that though, let's reinstall the studs. Remember I told you they were 7 millimeters? So I just push them in, and I'm doing this by hand. You see it goes straight into the chassis. So start threading them in by hand, and then stop when they stop because they screw straight into the chassis. And then on this side, this always happens to me, these little aluminum blocks that sit between the upper brace, they only go in one way. Don't try to put them in from the side, don't try to twist them. Go straight in, match that little tooth to the gap, and go in from the front of it where the tooth is. And that's the only way you can be able to get these in. They're there to support that bracket so that when you do tighten and torque everything down, it doesn't squeeze it. And then, like I said with the other side, you do it by hand. So I'll take this and I'll push it up, and you can pull at this point everything's loose, so you can just look up there and make sure it's threading in to the chassis. And you want to be very careful not to strip it. It's easy to get in, but do it all by hand and then tighten it until it comes to a full stop. You don't actually need to torque these. You just tighten it until you will feel it stop, and that's when it bottoms out, and that's where you need to stop. What's going to keep it in place is when you put the 60mm nut on the bottom side, and it pulls on that, and it'll make a sandwich, and you torque the 16mm nut. So here's my nuts. Also, you can just spin these on by hand. Put everything on, but leave it loose. Don't tighten everything down now. The studs you can tighten, that's fine. But the nuts, just get on there loose. You want to have a little bit of play because you're going to need that flexibility here in a minute when you attach the lower brace in between the upper brace and the transmission mount. You'll see exactly what I'm talking about, and everything will make sense here in just a second. You see, I'm just doing this by hand. It's no effort, no tools. Just spin these things on and then leave them like that. And now we're going to grab our bracket, our lower bracket, and put that on and sandwich everything together. Alright, so here's your lower bracket installed. And you put it in between your upper brace and your lower brace. The lower bracket, lower brace, same thing. And you see it sits on top of those inserts, or if you have the OEM bushing, it sits on top of that and the mount, but between that and the upper frame. And then if you adjust your jack screw just right, you'll have no tension on here. You'll be able to push this bolt in by hand, like I just did. Bam. Because there's no tension on it. And you can do that by just adjusting your jack screw a little bit up or down until you get all the holes lined up. This is why I left all the hardware on the upper brace loose, so you could move it, because you will have to put pressure on that or move it to get all the transmission mount, the lower brace and upper brace, all the holes to line up perfectly so you can get the bolt through. Then once you got that on there and this is swinging down, you can just push this up and get it up over the studs. It's pretty simple. Now with everything all back together, this is where you start tightening. So like I said earlier in the video, one side of your transmission mount is an E20, the other side is an E24. And spin it on by hand, and then you just ratchet the rest of the way, and then you're going to torque everything. The torque for everything is 48 foot-pounds. The torque for the chassis mounts, the transmission mount, all the 16mm nuts on the lower brace and the two 16mm nuts on the upper brace, they're all 48 foot-pounds. Alright, so now you know what we're doing here. We're just reinstalling our lower skid plates, aero covers, whatever you want to call them. So reverse order. Install the one in the middle, get it lined up on the studs, and then install the ones on the sides. And it's going to be a little bit of back and forth getting this thing to line up, because you'll get one side on and then the other side will pop off. So I'll have a handful of the plastic nuts to help me once I push it up on a stud to tighten them, or hand tighten it so they just don't drop down. And then I'll go through the whole car and make sure I get everything back on. And then after I get that on, I'll grab my composite part for the rear and we'll install that. Get it up and up onto those air scoops first, because that's going to be the hardest part. And it's kind of a back and forth between getting the air scoops and the little tabs to the fingers, or whatever you want to call them, to line up. But get those on first, and then I always have one screw with me, so that if I get those to line up, I'll put a screw at the top of it, the top triangle part of it, so that I can just screw it in by hand and it doesn't hang down, because that piece is composite and I don't want it to break. Alright, now that everything's back on and I made sure and double checked that I didn't miss a screw or a bolt, I'll put the car back on the ground and go for a test drive. I always leave the car in neutral so that I can push it back from here, and so I can get in and out of the car. That way I don't open the door and accidentally smack it against one of these two posts. So here you'll see me push it back, and then I can get in the car.
Yeah, the response is amazing. I mean, I already knew that the function first transmission inserts were going to make the transmission feel better anyways, but God, it feels so good right now, this car. I'm looking for a gas station here. Actually, there's a gas station that has ethanol free, so that's what I'm on the hunt for. So let me look at that with my GPS and I'll chat with you in a second. A little over 13 and a half gallons. That's about right. Now we got to get home, and it's rush hour traffic. So right now I'm in stop and go traffic, stoplight to stoplight. So it's not really a fair test. It's a fair test of the daily driver mode, but I'm not going through the whole driving experience to give you feedback on that. I will in a second, hopefully. once I can get past all this. But well, for daily driver mode, I can tell you it's good. Let's see if I can get rid of this glare, the sun glare. There we go. For daily driver mode, stop and go traffic, I'm going stoplight to stoplight. I'm in rush hour traffic. It shifts super smooth. Going fast enough, I can use the downshift. Very smooth. Yep. No thump, no clunks, no nothing. Very smooth, like I expected, like I knew it was in the past. Yeah, look at that. That's third gear, second gear, and it's just super smooth, no matter what gear I put it in. Comparing this to OEM, yeah, there's a little bit more vibration, a little bit more noise than OEM. Is it uncomfortable? Absolutely not. Tomorrow, we will drive the car. I'll put a few miles on it today. Tomorrow is the day I'm just going to put some miles on the damn car. We'll get in the car with the dogs and go for a ride, go for a drive, go for a nice long 100+ mile drive. And then that we'll see, is there any change after like 100 miles or so. I'm going fast enough that I'm in fourth gear, so let's see. Shift down. Oh, that was smooth. Second gear. It is a little bit louder. Look at this sexy prancing horse. Wow. Traffic's too busy. I was trying to get next to him so I could record the car. I believe it. I think it's a 360. I think it's a F360 Momenta. I think. It looked like it. It sounded freaking amazing. Too bad I don't have my mic, so you couldn't hear it. That's only 5 miles an hour over. Just 5. I promise. It's only 5 miles over the speed limit. Alright. That's first, second, third, fourth gear. And then we'll go backwards from fourth, third, third gear, about 4,000. I guess it doesn't matter what the gear is, but about 4,000 RPM. There is a little bit of a high frequency vibe, just a little bit. Also, both of these components are brand new, the transmission mounts and the motor mounts. So we got to get past their break-in period, which, like I've said over and over again, it's supposed to get smoother and more and less vibes. So just made it home. Overall, I think the car is great. I just got to put a bunch of miles on it so I can give you a true actual review. Install process, super easy. Like with the RSS mounts, you felt a definitive vibration vibrating your chassis. I don't feel that. I feel like almost like a little bit of a deep bass, kind of a hum is what I feel.
The next day.
So I'm about 80 miles east of Portland on the beautiful Columbia River, and I'm getting a little noise in the car. That's the little noise. Yep. The one with the white shirt. That's the little noise. You hear that noise? That's my fan. That's because I just came back from a drive and the car is hot.
let's get inside the car so I can talk to you. All right, so I know I promised I was gonna put this video out like the next day or 2 days later, and it's taken me a little bit more than a week, and that's because I want to be sincere and honest with you guys when I tell you something. So when I tell you whether or not the mod that I just did is comfortable or more vibration or less vibration, I want it to be genuine. So I want to make sure I drive the car, I put some miles on the car, and I give you an honest, fair review. I'm not sponsored. I'm not getting paid by these guys, by Function First. So I want to make sure that what I'm telling you is accurate. So far I have done 260 miles. I know I said I was going to do 500 miles in a day, but work and personal life keep requiring me to spend my time elsewhere. So I haven't done the 500 miles, but it's only been a few days and I've done 260. So by the end of the week, for sure, I should have the 500 miles on here. I can tell you without a doubt that the initial vibration and harshness you feel does decrease substantially. It's still there. Right now, how would I describe it? Right now, I would describe this as if you've been driving your car and your mounts are worn and you're getting a little vibes in your car because your mounts are worn, that's about the level of vibration I'm getting right now. Rolling, driving, no issue whatsoever. At idle, these are only at idle. At idle, and if you're in manual mode, about 3,800 RPM seems to be the frequency that it likes to give you the vibes and give you just a little bit of NVH. But I've noticed every single time it's getting smoother and smoother and smoother, and the vibes are going down. So I'm starting to believe really that this really does have a break-in period. Now, this is, and I'm referring to installing both Function First transmission mount insert and Function First motor mounts. Initially, when I first put them in, mile 0, there was almost no vibration or nothing, right? Then as soon as you get 1 or 2 miles, you start to feel it as it sits into its proper spot, however you want to look at that. You start to feel a little bit of NVH. Or you start to feel the NVH, I should say, that you're going to feel. You're going to get it right away after first mile or so when you're rolling. Then as you're driving, it seems it's there. Doesn't seem to, you don't really notice whether it gets better or worse. It's about the same until about 150-ish miles. At about 140, 150 miles, you notice it really starts decreasing the NVH. So things are now starting to set in. The urethane is starting to mold into its permanent shape. That's what I think is happening from the heat cycles, from driving, from the flex of the engine and transmission moving around like this all the time. I think everything is starting to take its shape. So I think around 140, 150 miles, they really start decreasing. Your NVH will start decreasing. And then now at about 260, they've significantly decreased. So fingers crossed, we keep rolling, and around 500-ish miles or sooner, we should probably have little to no NVH. So later on, after I have 1,000+ miles or so on here, then I'll do a true comparison of RSS versus Function First. My previous video where I did RSS versus Function First wasn't a fair comparison because I had installed the RSS mounts on this car more than once, put them on, take them off, put them on, drove it, and so I had a really good experience. I actually drove the car cross country with RSS mounts. So I had a really good experience with those mounts. I know how the car feels with those. I don't have nowhere near enough experience with this car with the Function First mounts, so that's not a fair comparison. So later on, after I get a bunch of miles on the car, a significant amount of miles, I'll do a true comparison, and I'll give you my perception and point of view of the difference of the two. But for now, this video is only going to be about the Function First.
3 days later.
All right, so we're going to do something special today. We're going to go on a dawn patrol. I got invited to go with the guys from Donuts and Drip, and it is 4:30 in the morning. So the plan is to meet up at this gas station here at 5 a.m., which is 4:40, is 20 minutes from now.
but I think I'll make it. And then from there, we're gonna drive to the coast. Don't know how many other cars are gonna be there. So you guys can see it is 4:40 a.m. Function first. So let's talk about my function first mount. So I'm at just under 500 miles. Another reason why I wanted to do this trip this morning was to get to work those function first motor mounts and engine and transmission insert, and just pretty much beat on it and to see if it breaks in. And I can tell you, driving wise, the car is so much better. It has definitely broken in. Any NVH, noise vibration hardness, has diminished substantially. A lot less NVH than was there before. Significant. I was actually very, very, very surprised that the motor mounts, the function first motor mounts and the OEM mounts, the vibration was pretty close. The extra vibration was very minimal. What does give you more vibration is the transmission mount insert. That definitely gives you more vibration than the motor mounts. Now, since I'm running them both together, that they double up, but it's all a lot of 90% of the vibration I had at the beginning is gone. I still have some. It is more than OEM, but not a ton, not a lot. So I'm just gonna keep driving and keep putting miles on this car and enjoying my ride. And I think I have enough miles now that I can actually finish the video of the install for the function first transmission insert and give you my review of function first transmission insert plus motor mounts. All right, let me get my eyes back on the road and pay attention, because it looks like we're about to pass this car and then get driving fast again. So I'll chat with you guys later. I will say the transmission insert is it's perfect. The shifts are so good and so crisp, zero clunk whatsoever. The only thing you have to live with is a little bit of vibration. That's it. The motor mounts, all their vibration is gone. There's no vibration in the motor mounts, whatever. The little vibration you're left with after I've done 600 miles, I'll take a picture or video of it. By the time I shoot a picture of it, it'll be more than 600 miles. But I've done over 600 miles with both of those things installed in this car, and I can say they truly work. Now, there was a comment on, I think it was on Facebook, on the 9972 group. Someone said that when they installed this mount, they felt like they lost power. This is kind of standard with any semi-solid mount. What happens is once you get at certain RPM frequency, with this setup that I have here, with this exhaust, 3800 is my frequency. At 3800 is where that frequency has the highest vibration. And that vibration is what affects, it gives a false knock to the knock sensor, so the ECU reacts and pulls timing, and that's where you feel your power loss. I can tell you though, since the vibes have gone down significantly, there's no power loss. I mean, sure, if we put it on a dyno, I've probably at the top end, you've lost 5 horsepower or something. How often are you driving at the top end of your car? Seriously, how often are you driving your car at that speed limit? Almost never. So you won't even notice. It drives great. I like it. So what is my verdict on function first equipment? Because that's what this is all about. My verdict on the function first inserts is, depends what you want. Vibration, noise, NVH, noise, vibration, harshness,
is subjective. That means I might notice something more or less than you will or the next person, because it's kind of opinion based. Like you say, oh, it has so much noise. It's all subjective. It's not. You can't say, oh, it's exactly 10% noisier or 20% noisier, because that's a matter of your opinion. So I will say, if I have to put a number on it, I will. I'll put a number on it just to give you an idea. I think if you do the motor mount, the function first motor mounts, just the function first motor mounts, you probably only gain 10 to 15% more vibrational noise initially. After you break in, that number probably drops to about 2.5 to 5%, roughly. Just my opinion. You might have a different opinion. If you do the transmission mount insert by itself, that will absolutely add about 15 to 20% more vibration and noise. Even after it breaks in, you're still going to have about 10% more vibration and noise from the transmission mount insert. Now, if you do both together like I did, you're going to get about 25% more vibration and noise initially. As it breaks in and wears in and flexes, it will get better. I promise you it'll get better. 618 miles right now, 603 I think is what it was when I took the picture, and I can tell you it is improving. I don't feel any vibration or noise, except at 3,800, which is that it's at just 3,800 must be the harmonic frequency that the engine vibes in line with the vibration of those things, I guess. I don't know. But usually you're passing through 3,800. You're not holding your car steady at 3,800. You're usually going a little less or a little bit more than 3,800 RPM. So around 3,800 RPM is when I have the most vibration or noise, but it's not. When I say that, it's not uncomfortable at all. It's probably, initially only. Initially is probably maybe 20-25% more initially. After everything breaks in, probably 10. You probably got 10% or less vibration and harshness. Driving through all the gears, you don't even notice it. Nothing. Driving most speeds, almost any gear, except for 3,800 RPM, it is very smooth. You don't feel or hear any extra noise or vibration. So at idle, you'll get more noise and vibration. You'll get like a deep bass. Initially, it's very noticeable. Initially, you'll get it probably 25-30% at idle. It will get better. It'll break in. It'll go. The noise and vibration will go down, and then it drops all the way down to maybe 10% or so. The best way to describe it is if you have OEM motor mounts, you know when they get worn out and you feel like you can hear more bass from the engine in your car, that's exactly what they feel like. That's exactly what that's all you're gonna feel for noise and vibration. Handling is perfect. Its performance is great. There's no issues with performance. So my opinion is, if you just want to clean up some slop in your transmission, maybe just do the insert. If your transmission is fine, it's shifting fine, don't use that insert. Do the OEM mounts, or do the function first mounts. That's my opinion, and that way you can retain comfort. Now, if you don't care about the extra little, it's like I said, it's not a ton, but it is noticeable. If you don't care about the extra vibes and vibrations and noise, go ahead and do them both. If you really do care about vibration and noise, I would only do the engine. I would only do the engine mounts, because the engine mounts are going to give you the absolute minimum vibration and noise and harshness. And actually, doesn't give you any harshness, so I take that back. It doesn't add any harshness at all. It does add some vibration though. So I would only do those if that's what your interest is in, comfort. Now, if you want flat out performance, I will say this: flat out performance, the RSS mounts are better. I think. All of this is just my opinion. It's all subjective. It's what I think, what I feel. It's not scientific in any way. I'm not telling you should buy this one or that one. Now, if you want to retain full comfort, don't buy any of this crap. If you want full comfort, buy OEM mounts. And if your transmission is getting a little sloppy, take your transmission to Porsche or an independent dealer, somebody who will swap your transmission mount. It is doable. They sell the mount online for like $60. So the mount is replaceable. So take it to any transmission shop or any, not any transmission, a shop that knows and has experience with the Porsche, and have them change your transmission mount, or make the tool yourself and do it yourself. And if you do, make a video so I can see it, so I can make the tool myself also, or borrow it from you. So that's, if you want the ultimate comfort, then go with the OEM stuff. Don't go with any of this stuff here. But if you can live with just a little bit extra vibration, this stuff works great and it upgrades your performance. That's my 2 cents. My day's over. I'm gonna go home and take a nap because I've been up since 3:45 in the morning, and I'll